Hello, Father. It has been nearly 31 years since confession.
Oh,
It's been a long time. In recent days, I've come to understand the errors of my jaded ways, and I'm here to confess my sins. I thought the First Omen was gonna suck. Back at the beginning of the year, I said all of these new requels are going to be ass, and they are going to condemn the horror genre. I contributed to a media market of doubt, and I didn't know Nell Tiger Free had that motherfucking dog in her.
well, son, God can't forgive you. You're dead to him.
Oh! Fuck! Can't even do like 3 Hail Pearls.
No, you still have to do those.
Oh.
But that's your punishment. You have to do 8 Hail Marys, 5 Our Fathers.
Mother Pearl, full of
Stick
rage.
a thumb up your ass, and God doesn't forgive you. So... Hello, and welcome back to The Devil's Cut, a podcast about all the things that go bump in the night. If it's spooky, scary, or spine-tingling, we are here to talk about it, and also, apparently, every week, delve back into Matt's Catholic upbringing. There's apparently no escaping it. Here we are. I'm your resident man-boy possessed by a devil, for obvious reasons, Matt Young, and here with me, as always, is the skeleton everyone should want in their closet.
Eric Rossi.
Oh, man, back for another week of spooky and scary and churchy goodness.
The nuns
galore,
are
dude.
coming
I've seen
for us.
so many nuns this month. It's absolutely insane. I think I'm at nun quota. I can't.
Maxed out on nun.
I have to watch a giant spider movie. I can't watch any more nun movies.
What about if we go back and watch like old nun movies?
I don't know. Can we watch one thing in between? I don't know if I can handle it.
Get one more nun.
All right. Just when I thought it was out, they pulled me back in, those nuns. All right. So this week we are talking about The Omen, the First Omen.
The First Omen.
And I know we did this bit, I think, last episode, but this is not the First Omen being the one from 1979 or whenever it came out. This is the First Omen, which is a prequel to the original Omen. So it's a little confusing over here. So just bear with us.
The First Omen, parenthesis,
not the first
2024 parenthesis.
Also, again, this movie has an orphan first kill situation where even in the movie they show us that it's still not even the First Omen. Naming conventions aside, it can be very confusing. But other than that, really, that's my only complaint about the film. And even that is a lighthearted barb at the film.
I just love this attitude of we've opened a door into the past so we can peer back and see the Genesis. And then once we get into that room, we're like, wait a minute, there's another door opening here.
It goes way farther back. I thought it was just this room. This is how the people at that Wonka show must have felt. What's she doing? This is the only one? One Oompa Loompa? Oh, but yeah, alright, so we're talking about The First Omen. We were very thoroughly and pleasantly surprised.
To say the least.
We're gonna, talk about how all the different things we loved about this movie after we go, do the recap, but, man, we have to front load it with movie ripped, dude. It was so good.
I think the best front loading we can do is everyone go see this movie. It came out a week ago as of this recording and this release. It still got some time in theaters. I don't know how it's performing. I'm sure we'll hear about that in a little bit, but make sure it performs extremely well because it has a lot of ground to cover.
Go pause the episode, go see it immediately. Call it at work, pull off the highway, whatever you're doing, stop, go see this movie because it's a really, really good movie, and we need to show our support with money.
Money,
please. We have to set the precedent. The good movies get good money. we can't keep going on with this bullshit where every like Disney gets $1 billion every time they make a movie.
And if you're one of those people who said, "Oh, guys, I already went and saw that other Nun movie with Sydney Sweeney from last week. Too fucking bad.
Too bad you're going
You're
again.
getting Nun times 2, 2 more, 1 more Nun for you."
It's still the Lord's month. Go see the Nun movies.
It's fucking so good. Oh
yeah. Honestly, I really can't say. I have no, other than the jests about the naming conventions, I really have no bad things to say about this movie. One goofy complaint at the tail end of the movie, but even then, it's like a drop in
a bucket of blood.
It's there's nothing terrible that I could say about this movie. I thought it was so good. It's every aspect, just the cinematography, the score, which I was listening to the score earlier.
Score rips.
And we discovered the score's got a crazy composer with quite the filmography behind him. The lighting, just that performances all around, everything. It's all so good.
Before we get too far away from it, should we talk about the similarities to Immaculate?
I don't think we really need to. I think we can just dribble them in during the recap because there's a couple times where I'm like, oh, and this was very similar. But otherwise, it starts out extremely similar to Immaculate, shockingly similar. But it's sort of like diverges at a certain point, because if you listen to last week's episode, so Immaculate is a much more grounded, even sci-fi take on a churchy
realistic
horror movie.
Science fiction, less supernatural.
Yeah, this one kind of takes us back to the supernatural realm. In a big way. There just becomes this like sort of inflection point in the movie where it's like we have to be supernatural now, so it's going to be very different. But for a while, it is very similar, which I thought was quite amusing. Especially how like so close together they released too.
Yeah, that's a real wonder. I'd be interested to see what like marketing must have been like between the two of them. Like, do you think anyone on each team was just like, "Hey, you're also doing the Nun movie?
You're doing one of these?
What are you doing? We don't want to put out the same homework. What are you doing?"
And you can copy my test, but change some of the answers. So they just did the whole, and then they're like, "Oh, I forgot to change it." And at the end, and then Satan fucks the nun in this middle of the streets of Rome, and you're like, "Whoa, okay, this is quite different." There's no way the same student wrote this. No, so I don't think we need to get too nitty gritty about the similarities. They are quite similar at the open, and they split, understandably as the movie
touching on a lot of similar themes as well.
Yeah, true. A lot of unwanted pregnancy going on. I like the focus this month on the horror story that the Immaculate Conception must have been for Mary.
Yeah.
Because everyone's like, oh, she was probably really stoked because God's baby was in there. And it's like, no. There a lot of conversations needed to be had in and around Mary's sphere of influence before she became comfortable with
What's that clip of the dude from Family Guy? Cleveland, who's falling out of the tub. He's like, no.
But we're not talking about Immaculate. We're talking about The First Omen. So this is a 2024 film. It is directed by Arkasha Stevenson, this isn't like his debut or anything, but he didn't really have anything on his IMDb that I felt the need to like pick out and say, oh, remember this one? So yeah. He's a little unknown to me. I was unfamiliar with his work, but I hope he keeps making horror movies. Unlike that bastard Ari who gave us and took away. He said, no, you get Sasquatch movies from now on.
Here's 2 of the best fucking horror movies of the decade. Also, I'm going to do a weird one with Joaquin Phoenix.
I'm going to do an anxious one and a Sasquatch one. So written, directed by Arkasha Stevenson, composed by Mark Corvin. And again, we pointed it out only because like the music was phenomenal in the movie, but not normally something I should change this habit. Not something I tend to focus on a lot. I think I'm gonna be more intentional in listening to the scores like from now on, just because I think it's like a part of filmmaking that I have very little like knowledge of.
Yeah.
I'm just not very
just to round out your appreciation.
Yeah,
for
exactly.
The art.
But yeah, Mark Corvin, he did the soundtrack for the VVitch, which fantastic movie, and the score of that movie it's a little understated from what I remember until the very end. But yeah, but he's so good at like telling the story just with instrumentals. Like, I was listening to the soundtrack for this one as I was writing, and I was like experiencing the whole movie because I'm like, oh, and this is like when this is happening, you can just hear the whole story being told, which is really cool. A whole bunch of other stuff too. Do you remember any other things on the list we saw?
There was The Witch. There was
The Lighthouse.
Oh yes, yeah.
The
Lighthouse.
Night Swim. Night Swim. I again, I wasn't really paying attention to the score. I don't know. I'm sure Night Swim's score was acceptable.
And that other one that we really liked from Netflix, No One Gets Out Alive.
Really good one.
If you guys haven't seen Nobody's Getting Out Alive,
it's an
course
Netflix
correct.
Original. Really, really
course
good.
correct. Amazing.
One of my favorite genres. It's the surprise creature feature.
Yes.
Like The Ritual.
Yes.
There's one that's on like the tip of my tongue that I can't remember, but
Malignant.
I don't know if that one. Yeah, okay, that's fine. Yeah, yeah, I'll give it to you. Let's see. As far as the cast goes, the First Omen is starring Nell Tiger Free. Crazy name. Love it. Love her performance. She's playing the main character Margaret. We have Ralph Ineson, who is playing Father Brennan, which is a reappearance of the character of Father Brennan, who was like a major player in the original Omen film. This is not played by the same actor, though, obviously, because I think that same actor is pretty fucking super dead, right?
Pretty dead, yeah.
The original actor who played Father Brennan was Patrick Troughton, and I will say, they look shockingly, like the cast, like, obviously they put makeup on him and they, cut his hair so that it's the same and stuff, but pretty close. Pretty close.
Close enough.
And
like,
mannerism-wise and, like, the acting, like, he was like, this is the character.
I like that he was a little, like, he felt like he had more gravity to him in this than he did in the very first Omen movie, the original.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he seemed a lot more manic in that one, but
understandably.
It's understandably so.
It's an evolution.
Yeah,
of
that's what makes this
from
performance so good. It's a little bit more reserved. It's a little more paranoid. And it carries a lot of like gravity, and it's not as
not so frantic.
Oh fuck! It's happening! Yeah. It's happening! It's happening!
Also starring Sonia Braga as Sister Silva and Bill Nighy as Cardinal Lawrence. I love seeing Bill Nighy. We just started recently like our watch through of the Underworld movies, which has been a real disaster treat. It's like eating like a whole box of cosmic brownies and then wondering why you feel
by
sad.
Yourself after you guzzled Mountain Dew for 2 hours.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. But every time I saw him in this movie, I was like, yo, that's motherfucking Marcus. Or whatever. I don't even remember. It's like he's just a stupid vampire in that movie. And yeah, so this is actually the sixth, I believe, sixth installment into the Omen franchise. Now, if you aren't familiar with the Omen movies, the only one that really matters at all for this, and even then not really, is the original Omen, the 1971 version?
It's set in 1971. I believe it came out in 73?
1976.
76. Okay, all right.
And yeah, so the only film in the franchise that really all matters at all would be the First Omen. But again, not that much. If you're unfamiliar completely with it, the whole idea of the original Omen movie is that a American diplomat and his wife have recently she went to labor. They lost the baby, and so in order to keep her placid. He just sneaks a new baby in and doesn't tell her. He just says he goes and buys a black market baby.
There's a priest who brings him the baby.
Yeah, but she's still, I mean, you know there was a donation to the church, right, for that one.
Yeah, nice little swapperoonie.
Yeah, so a priest sneaks in and says, hey, we know you lost your kid. We got another one fresh out of the oven for you. And he's like, all right, sounds good. Won't tell my wife. The movie goes on. The kid grows up a little. He's like a toddler. Bad things start happening to the people around him. One of his caretaker, his nanny, hangs herself. She jumps off the balcony
at his birthday.
At a birthday party, and she utters the one of the most famous horror movie lines: "I did it all for you, Damien." And then she's done. And it's just kind of a big spiral of chaos from there as Father Brennan's running around going, you gotta kill the kid! He's the son of Satan!
He's the spawn of the devil! He's the Antichrist!
He's the Antichrist, yes. So the whole movie is about the Antichrist and the evil things that happen around him. Because Damien actually never really does anything.
Not in the first one.
There's sort of... Well, yeah, that's true. I'm sure in some of the later ones, he actually does. I mean, when he's played by... when he's in the White House, being played by, what's-his-face?
Sam Neill.
Sam Neill. I'm sure he's doing all sorts of evil stuff. But in the original movie, he doesn't really do anything. It's more of like so you know how there's like the Holy Spirit, there's like also the evil spirit. And the Holy Spirit, you know how it does nothing because it's not real? The evil spirit is like, haha, I'm going to push things over and I'm going to cause car accidents and all that.
How about dogs? You like dogs?
Yeah, I'll summon a whole horde of dogs. There's really, it's kind of amorphous, but it's capable of doing whatever it needs to, like, you know, fuck up everybody over the course of that movie. That is the original Omen movie in a nutshell. I mean, we don't need to go into all that yet. Maybe we'll do an episode somewhere down the line. But I got to start a list of things that Matt has said we might do an episode of. I got to write a little note just to keep track of it all. Do you have anything about this one that you wanted to like chat about before we go like right into the overview?
Not really. I think there's a little bit of background on the like political part of this setting that might lend some color, but
also, you know, we're talking about like the riots and the stuff that were happening in the movie, which was like actually happening at the time. Also, you know, helps contribute to the original movie's atmosphere. Yeah,
the Antichrist, one of the like precursors for the Antichrist is like political upheaval. The idea is the Antichrist comes and unites everyone using the United Nations and brings the world government into a singular body, and that helps kick off the apocalypse because it turns the people away from the church.
No. I can see how that's so bad for everybody.
But the backdrop is kind of these riots that were happening in Italy in the early 1970s. Has, without getting too history book, it has a lot to do with moving political power around Italy. They were like changing different like districts and changing the way the state was shaped like within each region. And they moved a capital from one place to another, and there was a like workers union neo-fascist party that essentially like was rebelling against the government to try and like pull power away from them. It was a big fuck fest in Italy.
Yeah, well, it came like hot off the heels. If I recall, there was also like a big social like upheaval that happened in Paris. It started like that happened, and then it started like pop off. They're like, oh, they did that in Paris, we can do it here, and like Europe really was like shooken by it. Like it was happening in like all these cities all over the place for like decades.
I mean, a lot of the rest of the world was going through a lot of similar shit too. So it was kind of par for the course.
It's almost like the 70s and the 60s and the 80s. All that, it was like pretty wild. No wonder there was so much cocaine by the end of it all. just dusting everything.
But yeah, outside of that, I think really what's so great about this requel is that it separates itself.
Is this a requel? Is this just a straight up prequel?
I guess it is just a straight up prequel.
It is. It's late to the game. I'm glad. You know what I am glad is they were like, yeah, it's a prequel to the original movie. I'm glad they were like, everyone forget about 2006. There was a remake of the original Omen in 2006 that was I've never seen it, but I have heard pretty unanimously from the internet that it's like one of the most like uninspired cash grab. Just we have this property, gotta redo it. It's the aughts.
Sounds about right.
So I'm glad that they weren't like, yeah, we'll use that canon.
Yeah, no, but the strength of this one is that you really can watch this movie completely independent of anything else and just have a fucking rip-roaring time.
Yeah, you don't need any context, really. You get a little Easter egg here and there, like you see Father Brennan, who's from the original. You get some name-dropping of the characters from the original.
Call back in one of the kills, but that's about it.
Yeah, other than that, though, yeah, you're pretty much... You can go see this. You don't need to see the other ones. You definitely don't need to see the other ones other than the first one. And it's really refreshing. There's not like constant lore dumping. I say lore dumping, like what would the lore even be? It's such a the movie like is very lore light, the original one, for a movie about the Antichrist. You'd think there'd be all this backstory and magical stuff. No, they're just like, this kid's spooky and evil.
That's what's so great about it, is that like back then you didn't have to like extend yourself. Everybody knew like Antichrist, that's not good. That's quite bad. Sounds not good. They don't waste a whole lot of time, and I don't think we should either.
No.
So if you haven't seen it, go see it immediately. Give all your money to it.
All of it. It needs, you pay for 3 tickets just because we need it.
Rob a bootlegger.
We need it. Yeah, just buy 3 seats, just sprawl out, bring a blanket.
Lay sideways.
Yeah, lay sideways. Comfortable. It'll be good. Anyway, we're gonna get right into it.
You don't have to be afraid. This child is his way.
Alright, so we open the movie. We're outside a church where Father Harris and Father Brennan are having a chat. Father Harris is played by Game of Thrones' own Charles Dance, Tywin Lannister himself. And Brennan is now played by Ralph Ineson, as opposed to whatever the guy's name I said earlier. Ralph Ineson actually is in a lot more stuff than you might... that pertains to all the stuff we've been doing than you might know. So he plays Lorath in Diablo, who we were just chatting with last night.
Huh.
He played Asmodeus in The Pope's Exorcist. He was the voice of Asmodeus.
That I did know.
He was also Abaddon in Onyx the Fortuitous. So he's got a lot of demon. He's got a lot of demonic center roles. He knows what he wants to act in.
Wasn't he also the voice of the Green Knight?
He was the Green Knight himself.
Okay,
yes.
he played
full on.
Okay.
He was the full on Green Knight, which I think might be my favorite one because he was so fun in that movie.
It's quite good.
He's such a guy in that one. I love him. So yeah, they're having a chat. Father Brennan is clearly on edge here. Which, if you've seen the original movie, again,
par for the course.
Par for the course for old Father Brennan. He's in one state or another. He can't ever just be chill. But I guess if I were him, he's very paranoid. I wouldn't be chill either. Father Harris's dialogue becomes increasingly cryptic before admitting that he just wants it all to be over. Just then, a stained glass mishap pays its debt back to Tywin Lannister, right to the back of his dome. Now, what happens is there's a bunch of workers who are because this is the first death of the movie where you're oh, we're going for it right away. There's a bunch of workers who are
they're up on scaffolding.
They're installing stained glass up on this church. You hear a shatter. All this stained glass comes raining down in this cool slow motion scene. And in a callback to the original movie, in the original one, there was all this imagery of people getting impaled by shadows. There's all these photographs because this one character was a photographer, and he'd take all these photos, and all these people who were involved with the family of the movie kept having these shadows that looked like something stabbing through them, and then it ends up happening to one of the characters. So there's a lot of impalement from falling rods in these movies, and through the rain of stained glass, another rod. It falls down, gaining terminal velocity awfully fast because it just, and it's funny, you hear a boom and you see it fall, and at first you think it missed him maybe, or just bonked him on the head and he'll be fine, but then he's all right, Father Brennan, I'll be on my way, and he turns around, but you don't get to see it yet because it cuts to the other side, but you see Father Brennan uh-oh. And then eventually you do get the reveal of the back of Tywin Lannister's head is like, it's like someone took, it's like as if,
I know where you're going already.
I could have seen somebody from Netflix run out and been like, it's cake! Because it seriously looks like you took a cake knife, went and just cut yourself a little slice and just popped it out. It's this perfect wedge that has just been removed from the back of his head.
It was good because
it was good. It just, my first thought was like, it's cake!
It's one of those deaths where it happens so fast that you're like, wait, what? Is everybody fine? And then you're like, oh no, he's very much donezo. Dead. It's chunked out a big piece of his skull and his brain.
His brain.
You're not coming back from that one.
Yeah, it double dipped. It was crazy. And thus ends the cold open with a obviously shocked Father Brennan. And from there, now we cut to Rome in Italy. It's 1971. And this is where we meet Margaret, and again, this is our first, like, it's strikingly similar introduction to Immaculate, where Margaret has just arrived in Italy, and she's at, like, the airport, and she is like, well, I don't know what, I'm just an American. I don't, even though I believe the lead actress, Nell Tiger-Free, is British. But this is, so it's like, again, we're in Italy, American girl, fish out of water, she's fresh here from America, she doesn't know anybody here, except she gets picked up by a maybe or maybe not evil guy. They're very suspicious looking, that's for sure. But along the way, she meets up with somebody that she is familiar with. I don't know if that happened in Immaculate. I think she was just alone.
No, she was just taken by Enzo.
At least Margaret. I also called her Maggie because I think people in the movie called her Maggie. I can't remember, but I wrote Maggie a lot, so that's what I'm going to be calling her. She is met by Bill Nighy, former locker dweller Bill Nighy, Davy Jones himself, and he is a sort of mysterious figure from her past. Like, he knew her back in America because she was an orphan, and he, I guess, was maybe a priest at the time. Now he's a cardinal, but maybe like back then, he knows her from their past. That's all I know. Now that Maggie she's hitting the Italian streets, she is escorted to her new home, which is the opposite of Immaculate, where it's not a nunnery where old nuns go to die. It's a nunnery where young kids that nobody wants go to live.
The orphan nunnery.
No, so she's going to sort of ward over this orphanage with the rest of the nuns. Again, I do not think that she is a nun yet, just like in...
No, she is pre-vows nun.
Pre-vows nun.
The other part of the orphanage nunnery situation is that they provide kind of like midwife servicing for like unwed women who are pregnant, so like they help deliver babies
and then
from otherwise troubled single mothers.
It's a multifaceted system they've got going on. Yeah, so it is there at this orphanage that we meet Sister Silva, who's the chain-smoking abbess of the orphanage. She's very fun. I had a great time watching her. Again, just like a different character than the Mother Superior from Immaculate, but I do like a nun in charge is a fun archetype.
Yeah,
I always have a good time watching those characters in movies. That she was there's some really funny, just not like outright like flat out comedy, which Immaculate had like some funny moments. There's like lightheartedness at points in this movie, but it's not like quips and like jokes. There's just like moments where you just see the characters just kind of breathing.
Yeah, it's not like a punchline. It's just more like a natural
natural humor, right? And Sister Silva contributes to that quite a bit, especially because again, anytime you see her, if she's not like yelling at some orphans, she's just like she's like fucking smoking it up.
They're chief and bogues in this movie, only the way like a 1970s Italian nunnery can.
Exactly.
They're fucking slamming down cigarettes. It's so funny to see.
We also meet Sister Angelica, who, like, for some reason gets her own private wind gusts that, like, remember, we first are introduced to her, and she's our resident
Weird nun.
Weird nun that or always is.
Inexplicably uncomfortable nun.
Yeah, and we see her from, like, the corner of Maggie's eyes, and the camera pans over to her, and she's just, like, standing there watching Maggie and Sister Silva talk, but this wind is just, like gusting, her habits, like, flowing, her dress is going, I'm like, where's this wind? We're inside, kind of.
And
like,
she's got, like, some kind of weird origin story, right? Like, she was, like, left there as a baby, and she, like, doesn't talk.
Yeah.
She, for some reason, decides no eyebrows.
No eyebrows, can't do it. Maggie also meets and quickly bonds with outcast orphan Carlita Skiana. She's the weird orphan. She's, like, older than most of them, and also nobody wants to play with her. She's always drawing creepy. There's so many colors in the crayon box. Only uses black and red.
She is your quintessential tortured young
She's
woman.
The tortured orphan.
Yeah, you have all your other kids who are, like, singing and playing and getting along and clearly, like, have friends and, like, social lives. And then there's this one slightly older, creepy girl who peers out at the world from underneath her hair.
She should send some orphan applications to America. I hear good success there.
Great success, honestly.
Orphans do very well here.
They're just giving them out.
Yeah, so again, Maggie meets her, very quickly bonds with her. Carlita gives her, presumably, what we're going to eventually find out is a creepy drawing. And then also gives her a face lick. She's like, full on, how many licks? She's like, a 1, a 2, a 3.
Yeah, she does weirdly lick her face.
Like a full on, like chin to temple face lick. And then we cut away from that.
It's funny, she Margaret reacts in a way that makes you realize, like, she's maybe never experienced, like, this type of, like, intimacy, not necessarily, like, sexual intimacy, but
just
specifically,
being
like,
close to anyone.
Yeah, being that close to anyone is very unnerving to her, clearly.
That night at her new apartment, Maggie gets jump scared while she's praying, and we get treated to, like, this funniest nun. It's like, you know, your typical jump scare, right? Maggie's praying. The sun has set, so it's kind of dark, and she's all alone. And, you know, you're seeing from over her shoulder, she's praying. There's something in the back. Oh, what is that? Is that something? I don't know what it is. And then she goes to look, and then there's just a nun there, and it goes like, nah. It's seriously, like, the weirdest noise. I would have fully expected like a big loud nun scream,
yeah,
you know, like Conjuring nun style.
Yeah,
but instead she just goes, nah.
Yeah, it's kind of like a honk. You just honk the nun.
Yeah, ghost nun honk, which what a wonderful little choice to make. It was still scary, but also you were like, wait, what happened? What is this? But she doesn't really get too much time to reflect on it because
we meet her spanking hot roommate.
Yeah, dude, her nun contemporary,
her buddy system nun.
Yeah. She's living with her name is Lucy, I believe. I that's all I could remember. And yeah, she's looking to have like a little fun, right? She pretty much like flat out. She's like, I don't know if she says I'm gonna fuck, but she's like, I'm gonna get as close to fucking as many guys as I can before I put on that habit.
I think it's something along the lines of, I'm about to hide my body under the habit for the rest of my life. Before that happens, I'm going to experience as much of it as I can.
Yeah, she's basically like, I gotta like appreciate what I got before it's gotta be tucked away.
Use it before you lose it.
Exactly. At least for this one. And yeah, and so Lucy becomes our, again, that now we're stumbling into another like nun movie, where every girl has to have like the sassy nun best friend, right? Like, so your main character's got to be the more reserved, pious, innocent nun, but she's got to have a sassy one who's like, I believe in Jesus, but like, let's have some fun before.
She's a little more secular. She's clearly lived much more of like a secular life before committing to the habit.
True. But yeah, so Lucy's having a good time, and she's planning on making sure Maggie has a good time.
Having a good
time?
Is there a habit joke in there somewhere?
We'll workshop it as we go.
Okay. Put it back in the oven.
Sometime later, we meet back up with the sisters as they're smoking and joking and peeling potatoes. This is the one of the scene that I was talking about where it's like, this seems so funny, but not because there's like a bunch of like Disney Marvel quips going back and forth.
No.
You know, it's like, it's just a bunch of ladies like gabbing over peeling. They're like all smoking and they're cooking dinner for the night. Ashes are going everywhere. They're peeling potatoes. They're like ragging on each other. It's really funny. It's like one of my favorite scenes in the movie, and has nothing really to do with horror or anything. It's just like, it was so well shot, and it all just felt so natural. Like they were all just like pals.
Yeah, like they're all bullshitting. Yeah,
not even pals, just all a bunch of women who like have lived together for years. It just that's what it felt like. You know? So it was really good. It was like a nice little warm scene before, and you're like, all right, I'm gonna relish this now. Because as always, we know what genre we're in. Things are gonna get really bad.
Yeah,
and I'm pretty sure most of these nuns are in on it, so I'm gonna like them now because they're always bad. Later, a little bit later, it's time to let loose as Lucy plays dress-up doll with Maggie, giving her a makeover and sending her loose on the town. Now we're at the disco. The discotheque. Straight up. It's here that our ladies get cozy with two gentlemen, Alfonso and Paolo.
Oh, poor Paolo.
Poor Paolo. In order to calm her nerves, though, because Maggie is understandably a little out of her element here, she has maybe one or two too many Shirley Temples here, you know? Like, she gets a little loosey-goosey. And she, like, hits the dance floor with Paolo. At first, she's like, Lucy and her guy are out there just, like, tearing it up. And you get, like, a scene where Maggie and Paolo are just, like, they're at a table. Because Maggie's like, no, we're going to go sit over here and talk. But then eventually she gets lubed up enough. And she's like, fuck it, let's go to the dance floor. She drops the jacket. She's in, like, hot girl mode, you know? And she is, like, the first. She's like, oh, shit, dance? That's dancing and music? What a combo. Has no one ever done this before?
I can't believe nobody told me it was this good.
Yeah, and so here we get a very, like, indulgent sort of dance sequence there. Paolo and Maggie are, like, getting awfully
sweaty.
Pelvic bones are touching, you know? It's getting a little hot in the discotheque for Maggie, and she also she like is like, oh, I learned this move from this girl I know, and she goes full on the like she does the same lick that Carlita did to her to this guy, albeit a little more sexual tension in this one. I would say it's less. I don't know. Maybe it isn't less appropriate. I don't know. And then we basically cut to black, right? We get like a bunch of this dance sequence, but after the big lick, it's like cut to black.
It's your typical like, wow, she went out and partied. Poof. Yeah. The next morning, hungover as fuck.
Next day, hungover as shit, and we get this really cool shot that we see a couple different times. I don't know. I want to know how long it took to set up these shots, but it's like we get this. We slowly pan out. We're like super hyper close up on Maggie's face, even to the point where I think there's like a spider crawling on her eye, isn't there?
Yeah,
which is like really like, uncomfortable.
You get a shot from her eyeball over her eyelash, and you can see the spider like sitting on her eyelash essentially.
Yeah, it's like right on there. We slowly pan out and we see, I mean, like almost as if she herself is the spider web of this spider, because her hair is like laid out, like zigzagging out from her head in all these like tendrils, and I'm like, this shot must have been the most fucking annoying thing. Like, you had to have like 5 people being like, we'll put the strands here, and we'll do this strand, put it over
just
here.
arranging her hair on the bed. Yeah,
she must have had to lay there for like fucking 3 hours to get, but it pays off because the shot looks so cool.
Yeah,
and you see like similar versions of it like throughout the movie. Anytime we'll say Maggie is having a bad time, the spider web hair comes out, and we're like, oh, she's stressed, I think. Yeah, so now Maggie's recovering from her hangover. She bonds a little more with Carlita. There's some more scenes of her, because she's not only like she's there to teach too, right? She teaches the orphan. She's like a full service nun, right? You know,
they're putting her to work. You got to earn that habit.
Yeah, so she bonds some more with Carlita. And then I believe at some point while she's in the orphanage this day is when she hears all these like distressing noises.
She's like out in the square and she hears screaming. So she kind of like, all right, let me go see what that's about. I'll be right back. She
follows the source of it, and she stumbles upon a birth happening. There's a woman who's being restrained and tied down as she's giving birth in like a... It's not like a creepy setting. It's just like a clinical, like there's windows everywhere for observation and stuff.
Yeah.
And so like Maggie can look at it. But it is here that we get something that I've just never seen in a movie in public before.
I I have seen similar things in movies. I have never seen something like this on the big screen in like a modern movie.
Just a full, like feature length. Like we were in our local movie theater. Just anybody could have come in and seen what we were watching. No, it's a birth sequence, but we get some of like the tightest shots, just like full frontal vagina, which again, it is sort of a coveted moment in horror, because we see dicks are a dime a dozen, right? They get chopped off. We've seen so many wieners, boobies. Forget. I've forgotten more boobies.
Oceans of teeth.
Yeah, but to see a full on vagina. It's like the unicorn of nudity in a horror movie. You never see it,
especially in such a
raw. Just not like there's no like. It's one thing if like a nude stripper's running from Jason and like her boobies are flopping and her like vagina's like out, But this is like she's pregnant. She's on the stirrups. The legs are spread. It's camera. Dead center. It's like fucking right on in there. And I was like, oh, we're gonna do full birth. But what we don't really see birth. What instead we see
a breach. We'll say
a breach does occur. No baby. Instead, gross, drippy, green demon hand, just claws that I don't even want to imagine. Going through a vaginal
unfurling,
yeah.
I would say, from this poor woman. And then we cut to a profile shot where the arm is like stretching way out of her. Oh my god.
It's like a full grown human arm's length out of her vagina already.
Jaw on the floor. It was I was like,
me and Eric, our jaws were both like boom, hit the little tray tables from the seats that we were sitting in that we weren't supposed to be. And then we're like looking at each other. Like seriously, we were like, are we seeing? This is crazy. We're in public. It's one thing if you see it in a horror movie at home, but again, like you said, seeing it in...
And don't let us come off as prudes again.
No, we're excited.
We've seen the miracle of birth occur on film. I've never seen it 10 feet tall on the big screen. That was insane.
I think it was just it's another the first death, Father Harris or whatever, it was a little CGI. It was like not anything that was like unexpected. It was cool. Mm-hmm. But this is the point where I went, oh, this movie is going to do some stuff.
This is like the bullet train leaving the station.
Yeah.
This is like all right, everybody's aboard, everybody's already on here.
Yeah, it was shocking. And again, not in like a prudy way, like grow up, it's a vagina, whatever, right? But but it is shocking in a way that it's like no one is usually bold enough to just go for it,
And the other thing is they kind of set you up. The setting makes you feel like, okay, there's a baby coming. This is a very clinical setting. It kind of sets you up to that. And then when they turn it and they're like, oh, how about a demon hand instead? You're like, ew, no, that's not supposed to happen at all.
Yeah, and all that being said, this is a hallucination, as far as we know, of that Margaret is having. She's sort of like is from the sight of it all.
Overwhelming.
She's overwhelmed. She's hungover. I think it's still the same day, so I don't know. But either way, she's the stress cracks are already starting to show.
She passes out. She faints.
She does. She faints. So we never get any confirmation about that demon arm anyway, so it doesn't matter. All right, so the next time we catch up with Maggie, I don't know where exactly they're going out on the town for some reason. There's a couple different like day trips that the nuns take with the orphans in this movie. This first one happens. I only the first thing I have in my notes here is nun trampoline ! Because there is again another shot of like a nun and she's just like whee, and she's just bouncing on this trampoline for like, and that they were like, well, we have it, jump on it, we'll film it.
Is this where we're having our daytime party?
Not yet. They're out on the town, and this is where Maggie meets Father Brennan briefly. He sort of like, Maggie is like removed herself from the group, and he takes this opportunity. He's been following her. He
little creep, slinking around in the back.
Slinking around, he runs up, he approaches her, and he has like a desperate need. He's like, again, it's Father Brennan, so he's stressed. par for the course. He needs to talk to Maggie in private.
Yeah.
And she's like, I'd rather not. He goes, well, if you change your mind, here's my card. And then that's all we hear from him, and he scurries away like a fucking little street rat. I think that's it for that day. A few days later, this is where we have everybody's in the courtyard, right? The kids are playing. It's like in a pretty extended scene. There's lots of different conversations that happen. Carlita is there. She's an outcast, as always. Or Carlita gives Maggie another creepy drawing. Presumably, she doesn't look at it yet. She's just like, oh, thank you. I bet it's fucked up.
I bet it's fucking weird again. And they've been kind of bonding because they've both... Margaret has realized, she's like, oh, like, I had problems growing up in the orphanage. Like, I had mental health issues that I was struggling with, and I overcame them. And now she can kind of see a little bit of herself in this girl because of the way that they treat this girl. They frequently put her in this bad girl room.
Yes.
When she has outbursts. We have like our naughty hole where we hide our terrible children when they're being pieces of shit.
Yeah, they call it like her bad girl room.
It's like, you can't call it the bad girl room.
And that's where, we saw it a little bit earlier. And when Maggie, like, confronts, they're like, why do we need that room? And then Sister Selvage goes, because sometimes girls are bad.
Yeah.
And that's the explanation. I was like, how did you expect that not to be the answer, Maggie? One look at Sister Silva, and you could tell from her eyes, her fucking dead, over-it eyes, that, like, that was going to be her response. Oh, no, so she does... Maggie actually... Sorry. Correct myself. Maggie does look at the drawing, and... Oof, surprise, surprise. It is creepy. But it is a depiction of Maggie herself, pregnant, with a little baby with red eyes.
A blue.
Not ominous at all. Yeah, it's a blue baby.
Blue baby inside of her.
Well, blue's for boys.
Oh, I hadn't even considered that.
Actually, I don't know if blue was the boy color at that point. I think pink might have still been in the 70s the boy color. Maybe not. Maybe by that time we'd switched over.
I think that time we were
blue.
into the blue and the pink.
Bring back pink for boys. Let's just confuse the whole planet and we'll redo it again. Or pick all new colors. How about that? Wouldn't that be fun, guys? If we just had a whole... Oh, wouldn't that unify the world if we were like, all right, so Spooky West is 1940s. Thank you, Heather. She said 1940s is when they changed over from pink to blue for boys.
Got it.
But wouldn't that be fun? We get the whole world together. We all vote on what the new colors for kids are going to be.
I think people have a very difficult time with color politics, and I don't think we have the time to sort that out.
World War III is finally kicked off because we get so angry about color choices for babies that is everybody goes to war. But yeah, so Carlita gives this creepy-ass fucking drawing to Maggie.
And that's where the other sister admits, she's like, oh, I did this part. This is the part that I drew. And she, like,
the one
points
Angelica,
to the fetus.
the one
the
who
creepy,
has the wind.
Yeah.
She just gets all to herself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maggie starts to, like, yell at her, and then just to shut Maggie up, she just steals a smooch. She straight up, like, on the mouth kisses Maggie, and then runs, and Maggie's like...
She's completely caught off guard.
Maggie's surprised. Maybe a little turned on if I'm getting my like body language correct. Just like a little like, oh, I didn't think about this.
Our main character is what the Veronicas would consider untouched.
She's horny, but she knows she shouldn't be. But she doesn't know how horny she could be if she just let it go.
Horny in a God-fearing sense.
Yeah, we've all been there. And so before, like, Maggie can, like, address the creepy drawing or the smooch that Angelica gave her, after she scurried away, like, a little bit of time goes by, and then this is where we get our original Omen homage,
yes,
right?
Yes.
This is where we get, everyone's going about their business. This time it's peeling potatoes in the courtyard instead of just having a fun toddler's birthday party. But the effect is still the same. We hear voice coming from above everybody. Everyone looks up. And this is where, so now, we hear a voice. Everyone looks up. There's Angelica. She's dripping wet.
Red flag.
Which you never, you hate to see it. She's dripping wet, and she's got a noose around her throat, and this is where she utters, we get the line, "I did it all for you." Damien being omitted from the sentence because he's not here. That's not who she's talking to. Now you might be thinking, oh, she's clearly looking at Carlita. This is who she's doing it for. Maybe, but we don't need any clarification yet because she's like, I got a tribute to do, but I'm gonna one up. Now this is where it's like the people who did this movie were like, all right, we have to. This is the most famous scene from The Omen. Is this? I did it all for you, Damien moment. So obviously we're going to do it. But how do we do it? And just give it one extra nudge. How do we one up the diving off of the roof, hanging yourself?
Then crashing back into a window.
Honestly, at first, I was like, oh, I bet they're going to do this, and they're going to just do the whole head pop off. Because that would be crazy.
That would have been a great decapitation.
That would have been great. But we get almost as good. They go, what could one up it? On fire too. How about that?
Self-immolation.
So she goes like full on Saint Maud, lights herself on fire, then jumps off the building, and the noose hangs her and swings. And the same thing, she like swings back into the building and like crashes through the window. So it's like not only did you like disturb everybody, but also now we gotta fix this fucking window.
We gotta bring a guy in to fucking measure the window and
so
fucking
inconsiderate.
Demo. It's a pain in the ass.
But it is a good scene. I will say, like, it obviously felt forced because it was it's a reference, right? Like, it's hard to make those occur naturally.
It felt forced, but
not in, like, a bad way.
It was like, once I realized she was lighting herself on fire, I was like, oh, we're doing a different thing, too. Yay! Okay.
Yeah. My only concern, and it's not really with this movie, it's just in, I guess, just the series in general, like, what does the hanging do for Damien? She's like, I did it all for you. Wouldn't it have been better for her to just continue to bodyguard for the little kid Satan? Like, what is I did it all for you. Like, you just quit. You quit your job. That's all that was.
I think it escalates things within their life.
I guess true. You want it was the moment that like made the rest of their lives be just like chaos that they don't understand. I guess is what it is.
It's a definitive stamp within their life where they're like, oh, things are weird around this.
Well, I guess just like it's the Catholic depiction of the devil, right? It's just chaos, right? It's like you can't know it, so that's what it's all about. But I don't know. For me, I'm like, what are we doing here? I feel like you probably like you were in on it. You could serve. There's not that many people in on it. We need as many of us as we can get. Just don't hang yourself. But whatever. Satan's plan, right? It's all part of his plan.
Works in mysterious ways.
And that's straight from the Bible.
They get a lot of leg work out of that one, so we might as well use it too.
Yeah, if they get to use mysterious ways, we get to use it. So now Maggie, understandably disturbed,
uncomfortable.
This is when she musters up the courage to answer Father Brennan's call. She meets him at his apartment. We get like this really, really cool shot that I just remember. I was like, remember this one, because she like goes to his apartment and you get this cool alleyway shot where like she's lit by like this tiny like vertical sliver of like orange light. That's only light. It's like I don't know how they did it because it's only lighting like exactly the right part of this just outside space. It's just so cool. And again, the lighting is so natural and ominous and like spooky and like purposeful, and there's like no wrong bit of this movie.
The cool things about that location too is that like the street kind of switches back and forth, and the buildings are angled alongside of it, so like it makes for like cool reflective light. And
it's really awesome. This is our artsy fartsy design background.
And I'll tell you what, this movie is absolutely chock full of these extremely like artsy shots and like gorgeous lighting and just really like immaculate, taking full advantage of their like settings.
Yeah, and you might be thinking like, well, Matt and Eric, they're always pointing out all these artsy fartsy shots in these movies, and you know what, we are pointing it out because there was a long period of time where it seemed like movie makers forgot that you can make your camera angles look cool.
True.
It seems like there was like a 15-year period where everyone was like, "Nah, we just do it this way. We don't. No thought goes into it. You just point the camera and the people are there and you make the movie.
And then you put the blue and the green
and then you make
filter on
it blue and green and then it looks good. And then Shia LaBeouf's there and then you make the movie. So Maggie now meets with Father Brennan.
She's not really swallowing the pill. He's like, listen, there's a church within the church, which I love. I love this. Another one right after Immaculate. A church within the church.
To be fair, in Immaculate, that was kind of like a splinter. I don't really know how involved with the church.
That was a church in the church.
I think he was just the guy who was like, I'm science man. I don't think the whole church was involved necessarily in that one. But in this one, yes, I loved and this is where we start to get the added lore, because this is not anything that was really covered in at least the first Omen movie, the original Omen movie.
Yes.
I can't speak for the sequels. I haven't watched them in quite some time. But this is where we're, as far as I know, we're getting a bunch of new lore. So you might think like, well, Damien, son of the devil, probably a bunch of satanic cultists were the ones who brought this guy into the picture. No!
It's the church proper. See, their whole mentality, as explained by the father here, is that, all right, we are going to follow this esoteric Judeo-Christian prophecy that will bring about the Antichrist. And then since we are going to be in charge of bringing about the Antichrist, it's going to turn the world to shit, and then it's going to then make people come back to the church. So we will control the Antichrist to bring people back to the church, which is the dumbest fucking idea I've ever heard.
Yeah, it's like, do you guys not even read your own fucking book? Which, I mean, historically, that is the case.
They don't.
But, I mean, let's imagine a world. Imagine this is a world like where the church is, like competent. I mean, the church is competent, but like the followers are usually not as much. But like, imagine this is the world where we're supposed to believe like, oh, decisions that people make are gonna make some semblance of sense. Like, what is the read your the Antichrist being around is bad. It's bad. There's no good thing. Like, yes,
it is bad,
people might go back to the church, but the church will be like the birth of the Antichrist is supposed to be. Well, that's it for the church.
Well, yeah,
they should not want him.
Yeah, it kind of becomes like one of the inciting incidents that inspires Revelations, right? Their whole thing is like, if we bring about Revelations, part of Revelations is that it will turn people back to the church because they'll see the defeat of the Antichrist, and they'll go, "Oh, okay, we were wrong. You were right. We should do church again." But I just think it's so perfectly like wrapped up in what feels like a not so subtle metaphor of like the church wanting to re-control, mainstream world and most people. And how do we go about reinstating our control? Well, we take overt control of this woman's uterus. Yeah. We gotta start with this woman's uterus and force her to give birth to something that she doesn't want.
Wow, it's almost topical.
It's so blatant. But man, you can't really hide this shit anymore. You need to like spell it out for some people.
Well, apparently so, because Maggie doesn't really believe him.
Yeah.
So, Maggie doesn't believe him, and she sort of flees the scene. And because what he needs, though, he convinces her, he says, all right, that girl that you're really into, Carlita Sciana, he was like, I think she is they have her because she's born from the devil, but that's not the Antichrist. There's like the twist is that the devil, I don't know if he says it here or later, but it doesn't really matter.
I think it's here.
He says that the devil has to procreate with its own offspring. So they needed to kind of do this twice, right?
Yeah.
They needed to make a demon baby and then make a demon baby with the demon baby, right?
Yes.
So he's like, I think Carlita is one of these, so she's already a demon baby, but if you want to save her, she's in danger, so you might want to get up on that,
Yeah. So
So I need her files to confirm, so go and sneak in and get me her files.
It's one of those devilish inversions of the faith where they're like, all right, immaculate conception. That's great. We love it. Super holy.
We're going to go double
We're going to go other way.
We're going to do the KFC double down on sane babies.
We got to make it double gross.
So Maggie refuses to steal Carlita's medical files. She then returns home. The next day, it's another orphan field trip day. But this is the one that, like, really quickly gets ruined because there's, like, a protest that, like, works its way into the middle of town.
There's one really gorgeous shot in here where they're, like, kind of stowed away in the museum that they're going to visit. And Margaret's there with, what's her name, Carlita? Mm-hmm. And they're kind of having a conversation on this, like, second floor of this inner courtyard of the building. And you cut to the other side of the courtyard, like, looking across at them. And the way the shot is framed, there's, like, almost a, like, stage light, perfect circle that encompasses both of them. It's just awesome. It's gorgeous.
Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful shot. There's so many of those, we can't even count them all. Honestly, one of these reasons why you have to see it. It's such a visually stunning movie.
A feast for the eyes, honestly.
Yeah, honestly. It's the same, it's been long enough, it was the same stuff I said about Pearl back in the day, it's like so just pretty to look at, just go look at the movie. You know, it's worth it. But yeah, so the streets rapidly fill up with protesters who then eventually turn violent, and a riot breaks out. Fire bombs are being thrown, cars are being flipped over. So it's pretty chaotic, which makes it like a really inconvenient time for Maggie to just be having like a total breakdown in the middle of the street. Because it's like, maybe like compartmentalize and then get out of the way of Molotov cocktails. But no, she can't do it because she is being like, she's having a psychotic episode, or maybe, but what we essentially get treated to is in the middle of the streets, we're seeing flashes of her in the middle of like a Bad Dragon advertisement, because there are like slimy phallic things rubbing all up and down against her in the middle of the street here. Yeah, and you're like Maggie, what is happening?
She's like in the chaos of this riot. It's like almost like she's in a mosh pit, and then all of a sudden there's these gross, like, slimy demon hands groping her all over the place.
There's a big wiener that like rubs up her to like all the way up her. It's like, honestly, it reminded me of the Cerveza Cristal bits. Like, I was like, did Bad Dragon just insert like a just a dildo company was like, just put my product in there and just keep the movie going.
Put the slimy long one in there.
All the Bad Dragon ones have like names.
Yeah, we don't need to get into the Bad Dragon names right now.
We want them to sponsor us. But Brutus. Yeah, so Brutus is one. And I think he's just a dragon. Anyway, maybe he's a dog. I don't know. But but the next time we see Margaret, though, she's recovered. It's sort of like we have to assume she's like taken safely.
And that episode was not unnoticed.
No.
There was a very clear shot
Sister Silva
staring at her through the crowd like, what the fuck is that lady
this
doing?
This one's unstable. I can't believe we let her live with us. And this is when, in the next day, Maggie's called into Sister Silva's office. She gets her own private little office room. She's pulled in, and it is there. She's told that it's been decided that she's become too attached to Carlita, and that she is a little too unstable to take her vows. So maybe a little
dangerous.
Maybe we'll delay it.
Yeah,
just take some time for yourself. Don't talk to the creepy outcast girl. Just don't take your vows.
She's supposed to have no contact with her.
This does not sit well with Maggie, though. She is under. The nuns are right. She's very attached. She continually sees more and more of herself in this character. So she like, anytime bad stuff happens to her, she becomes more and more unhinged over the course of the movie about her responses to her. It's not really like it doesn't really. It's not really as. I guess it is abusive. They have a bad room, right?
They have a bad room.
That's
pretty abusive. If you have a bad girl room...
If you have a bad girl room for
that's either an extremely consensual place or an extremely non-consensual place. Yeah, it's kind of one or the other.
It can be really great or really dark. So, distraught, feeling helpless, Maggie flees the orphanage into the night, where she eventually bumps, on the street, she bumps into Disco Paolo, who at first I think he ignores her, but then she pursues him.
She's chasing him down the block like, hey.
Yeah, and when fully confronted like that, he spouts off a bunch of stuff that means really not that much to us as a viewer, and not
you can't
very
even
much
barely hear him.
Yeah, and not very much to Maggie either, except we do hear him say something along the lines of "look for the mark." Now, obviously, if we've seen the other Omen movies, you know that Damien was born with he has the 666 is the mark.
A very distinct.
Do you know
mark
anything about
the
history of that? What?
Yes, I learned about it. I learned about it specifically for this.
Brief respite from the movie. What is the deal with the 666?
Okay, so the 666 thing is a thing from Revelations. The mark of the beast is 666 because it is they call the inversion of the Holy Trinity. But what it really is the fact that in Hebrew, in the original Hebrew, numbers and letters were the same thing. So there are letters that could also be numbers. Numerical values.
Okay.
And the big hypothesis was when Revelations was being written, it was kind of at the expense of Nero and the Roman Empire. And if you took Caesar and Nero's name and expanded it in the Judeo text, it would essentially break down to the 666.
Oh, okay.
Structure.
So nothing.
There's so much of Revelations that's just Jewish mysticism on top of numerology. So it's nonsense.
It's nonsense. It's not even mystical or scary at all. It's just this is a guy's name.
It's really a political parody to symbolize him, and kind of gives you they love symbols. They love a good iconography.
You know what? Me too. It's a human thing.
Yeah,
we like our symbols. All right, interesting though. Yeah. So that being said, that in the case of this movie and its greater universe, we're looking at it the number 6 is the inverse of the 3, even though that's really not how inverse works either. But yeah, and it's also cool. The birthmark in the in this movie, which we will see, and in the original one, is the 6s are sort of in a triangle, where the butts of the 6s are all touching each other. It's
part of the Trinity thing.
You know what? Good tattoo. It's a good little.
Would be a gnarly tattoo.
Yeah, just a good one to throw on somewhere. Even if you can get one of the guys who can make it look like a scar, and not
that'd be nuts.
Pretty cool, right? That'd be pretty fun. Or you could get real extreme and be one of those body mod people who just straight up
just
scars
scarification.
And
yeah, gnarly.
It's up to you, viewer. I mean, however you want to do it, but you have to by the next episode. I will. You have to. You're gonna.
We'll all be doing it here, so you also.
Yeah,
should,
and you're gonna have to send photos, otherwise you don't. I'm gonna delete your RSS account. You won't be able to listen. So you'll be banned. But yeah, so anyways, Maggie's on the streets with Paolo, right? He says, look for the scar. She really doesn't know what that means, or really what anything else that he said means. She continues to confront him and be like, you have to help me. I'm freaking out here. I saw a vagina open up, a big demon hand came out. Satan was putting his penis on me in public. It's crazy over here. And he slowly backs away from her into the street, which is if you've seen
anything,
a single movie, even exactly, you're all right, there's no way this character gets out of this scene without getting hit by a car. Yeah, it's just not fucking possible, dude. There's no way that he gets out of here. And of course, he gets full on Final Destination. Death from Final Destination was oh shit, I gotta be somewhere.
I gotta get
Rome.
to Italy.
I gotta get. How funny would that be? A Final Destination spoof movie where it's just Death constantly being shit, I'm late, and he's got to keep sprinting all over the place to get to set up a mousetrap to kill somebody.
That's got to be a fucking comic somewhere already.
If it's not though, we're gonna find you if you do it. We got it. And so yeah, Paolo steps back, absolutely macked by this truck, and it's a truck. And there's a bunch of people around. They're all like screaming like, "Oh shit! Oh my god! What happened?" And Maggie is like, so we get like this over the shoulder camera shot of her as she slowly approaches the truck.
She's like in shock. She's totally fucked up. She's like, "Oh my god."
Yeah, and Paolo it is revealed he's pinned to the wall of a building, very similar to the wife in Signs, if anybody remembers that delightful M. Night Shyamalan adventure. She got pinned to a tree by a truck very similarly. And so, like, Maggie approaches Paolo. It's very sad, because he's like... At first, you were like, he seems kind of out of it when she was talking to him. Now he seems a little more aware, but he's like, "Oh, I'm scared." And it's, like, really heart-wrenching, because you're like... That, like... In movies, when someone is, like, right about to die, and they're just, like, want their mom, is, like, a really, like, big gut punch, And so this guy's like, "Oh, I'm scared." And you're like, "Oh,
he's, like, panicking, because he's like, I can't move. I can't move. And he's, like, trying to push against the truck, and she's like, No. Hold on. I'll get you. I'll get you.
And so she, Maggie embraces him, gives him a hug, and she's like, "All right, I'm going to get you out of here." And she, like, gives a big heave, and, like, she pulls him, and she's freed him from being pinned by the truck. But
the entire crowd behind them gasps.
Yeah,
audibly.
But here's the thing, and I think the church would approve. He will not be having any more one-night stands. They'll be all one-night lays. Because it is quickly revealed. Because at first you're like, "Wow, she's really strong." No, she only has to lift half of a person, because she has completely removed Paolo's top from his bottom. And
she, like, swings him around to face the crowd.
Like everyone gasps,
and
she's like,
on
"What?"
her.
Yeah. And she, like, whips around, and, like, guts are like...
But she, like, lays him down on the ground, and it zooms out, and we get, like, a really uncomfortably long shot of watching, like, Paolo's guts slide out of him.
It is gruesome as shit, dude.
Yeah.
It's pretty fucking brutal. I mean, I've seen people cut in half in movies, right? But this one is it's gut wrenching and drawn out, and it is disturbing. It's good. It's a really good way to do this. So Maggie continues to not be doing so hot.
Not so great.
She's definitely unraveling. Somewhere further along in the movie, we're also treated. I think it's like this. There's like a portion of the movie where I think, so now Maggie's like fucking losing it, right? And the next scene sort of happens side by side. So we get Maggie is going to sneak in. She's like, "All right, you know what? Shit is fucked up. So maybe Father Brennan has a point. So I'm going to go get those files." Meanwhile, Lucy, who isn't having a mental breakdown, gets to take her vows, right? So we get this side by side scene of like Maggie sneaking around underneath the orphanage looking for files that have been long forgotten. And also very improperly stored, given what the files contain. If you ask me.
True.
And Lucy is she's taking her vows, and she's at first like she seems nervous, and you're like, well, I would be too, because like Lucy seems pretty chill and down to earth, and like if I remember what happened to the sassy friend in Immaculate, so like Lucy's probably not got too much good in store for her. They also like but the worst thing that does happen to her is they put on, like, the nun habit on her head, and it looked like they were, like, trying to squeeze Play-Doh through one of those, like, hair tubes, because it was, like, that thing was on so tight, it's never coming off.
It was a really good visual for, like, representing
how uncomfortable all this bullshit is.
Not just that, but the grandstanding and, like, the actual ritual of like her taking her vows, and then the church placing its like legitimate physical control over her body by like strapping her tightly into this fucking habit. Like, it looks so good.
Yeah, Sister Silva like tightens the fucking habit, and Lucy's like, like you can see her skin like pulling back. I'm like, I bet this is how they all go. Dude. It sucks.
They do that same thing where they're laying face down. I found out that was like a nun thing where they assume they
pose. Prostrate themselves.
Yeah, they like lay flat on the ground and pray on their face.
Well, I wasn't sure. I didn't know that was a real thing, because what I thought was happening is the nuns were all as all this is happening, Maggie's down underground. She finds the files, right? But right as she finds the files, the camera goes like whoop, like up through the ground, and the nuns are all over top. I thought it was like the nuns were kind of like all knew that she was down there.
Oh, it might be, but it is that the
that
laying
is a
on the
real
ground
thing that
is
they
like a
did?
real nun thing. They did it in Immaculate too, and I was like, what the fuck is this laying?
Yeah, they just lay like nose to
It's a nun
floor.
thing. Yeah.
Well, either way, whether they know it or not, it doesn't really matter all that much because Maggie does get the file, but she is caught because she can't just leave. She feels the need to get Carlita out of there, and that's at first she's succeeding on all her sneak rolls, you know?
Yeah.
She's doing a really good job. But then, you know, she won too many chances, and that was it. She gets caught by all of the nuns and the priests and all the guards and stuff while she's trying to get Carlita out of there. It's like during this scuffle that like Maggie's like down on the ground and Carlita is being dragged away. She's like screaming. During the screaming, Maggie like looks up and she sees that the mark of the beast, the 666, is the birthmark is on the roof of Carlita's mouth.
It was
It's
so
a
cool.
gross reveal.
It was a really good reveal, too.
Really good. So she's like, oh, that guy was fucking right. There it is. It's on there. And then Maggie is dragged away and thrown into Carlita's bad girl room. Right?
Yeah.
She gets put right in the bad girl room.
She manages to hide all the files, though, underneath the mattress.
Yes. So she's dragged away to the bad girl room. She's left in the dark. She's then terrorized by the ghostly visage of barbecued Sister Angelica.
Holy
right?
shit!
It's
What
a really
good barbecued person.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like she starts out, she's like really far away, and you're not really sure as a viewer like if there's something there in the dark, and then eventually she like moves and it's very scary. It's good. But she's rescued from all this torment though by Father Gabriel, who we haven't talked about. He's just like a guy who seemed chill, but we know not to trust that, especially with men in the church. Like, you seem chill, you're probably trying to genetically recreate Jesus.
Yeah.
So, like, it's, you know, we can't really trust you. But this guy always seemed cool, and just to avoid, you know, he is cool. He's a chill guy.
cool.
He's, like, the one chill guy involved, and he's like, things are getting kind of, like, fucked over here. Like, Maggie seemed cool. I don't know why she's in the bad girl room, but maybe I'll help her out. And so so Father Gabriel, you know, he's a young priest too, right? So he's probably got more of the like younger idealists. You know, he's like, maybe I don't need to do the crazy shit that my like all these adults like are doing.
Maybe we shouldn't torture this girl.
Yeah,
Who technically hasn't even taken her vows.
yeah. So Father Gabriel, skedaddles her out of there. They grab the notes. They're not able to get Carlita, but you know he's like, we got to get out. So the two of them leave. We're starting to form a group. That night, Maggie and Gabriel meet with Brennan.
At his gross apartment.
At his gross apartment with the cool lighting outside.
Which, by the way, has like 15 locks on it. Like,
It's
a
so funny.
comical
It's like,
amount of interior locks.
Click, 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 click. Hello?
Yeah.
Oh, no, sorry. He's next door. You know, like, imagine having to, like, answer the door ever. You'd be like, no! But yeah, so they show up, and presumably, like, now he's got to, because, like, I'm assuming he had already approached Gabriel, too. He might have even said that.
Yeah, they talk about it.
Because I was like, they don't do the spiel again, which is wild that Gabriel's just on board, so he must already be in on it.
He mentions it pretty much as soon as they get there, because he's like, oh, Father, and he's like, she goes like, wait, you know this guy? Because she's paranoid. She's like, wait a minute, two guys know each other? I don't like that. And
it's historically not great.
Yeah, he's like,
it can cause a lot of problems.
he puts her to, he's like, no, like, he approached me first, like, before you would even come here. Like, I rebuffed him because it sounded like nonsense, but here we are. I'm on board. Mm-hmm. You don't have to tell me twice.
And so now it is here in the room with her two only friends in the world now, where Maggie comes to terms with the truth of her dark past. After, you know, they explore, you know, Father Brennan goes, all right, we have to find, you know, go through the files. You got all these files. We have to find Carlita. They find her, and he's like, all right, you know, the baby. Like, Father Brennan knows that there was a baby born. The one he's looking for, the specific baby, he's like, she has, you know, the baby will have the mark of the devil on her forehead.
Because in the picture, there's a baby with the 666 on its, like right over its forehead on the right side.
Yeah. Well, it's what he remembered seeing. Because but then, he's like, all right, show me Carlita's file. And then, so Maggie goes, well, it can't be her, actually. Like, now, and she's like, oh, wait, no, I saw the birthmark. It's in her mouth. It's not on her head. And then, so they dig through all of the files of all the babies that were born. And this is where we find out that, Maggie is now putting the pieces together. She finds the blank file, with the baby with the forehead mark, and this is when she's like, "Oh shit!" And I put this piece together like forever ago. I was like, "Bitch, you've got a long road to walk because I know where you're going." And she's like reading the file, and she's like reaches up and she like spreads her hair apart, and you're like. No, you're like, all right, come on. I know that mark is there. I know those 6s are on that fucking head. I could have told you forever ago. And it is then revealed that the baby that Brennan has been looking for this whole time, that he thought was this Carlita, that he thought that Maggie was going to help him find, was actually Maggie herself. She was one of the original like tests she was like the original successful test of like a baby not being born like a goblin,
Yeah.
So, I mean, I will, needless to say, this does not help the mental condition of our heroine here.
No, but she is finally at the point where she's like, okay, that means they're going to be coming for me specifically, which means I need to get the fuck out of this country. How do we get out of this country? And Father Brennan's like, all right, I got it. We're going to get you out. We're going to take your driver is a guy we can trust. We'll get in the car now, and we'll leave right now. We'll get out of town, get out of the country, and get you safe.
Mm-hmm. And they make it a decent way, but then they have the, I guess, unfortunate circumstance of driving past a church, which I guess angers the evil spirit. Which then, because it has the ability to kind of like do anything other than like just showing up and stabbing the character it wants to kill, so we have a like off-screen car wreck.
But as they're driving away, we start to see that our unfortunate main character is now becoming extremely pregnant all of a sudden.
True, and this was something that Brennan mentioned earlier when he was first doing his whole like info dump on her. Something that he had mentioned something about like an expedited pregnancy, like the demonicness of it it's so unnatural that it happens rapidly, right?
Yeah.
So like Margaret is. They're driving her away, and she's like, ah, ah, and her belly's like inflating, and she's like getting more and more pregnant as time goes on, and then, bam. Car crash.
They get T-boned right in front of the church.
Cut to Margaret waking up. Father Gabriel, super dead. Driver, super dead. Brennan's not in the car with them, right? I mean, he lives either way.
I think he's knocked out in the car.
He's knocked out. He's in the next movie, so obviously he doesn't die. But Maggie is for all I remember, the sole survivor of this accident, and she's like 9 months pregnant at this point. Within like 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And usually the expedited pregnancies in these movies, like it's like a week, and like, oh wow, she's pregnant all that way in just a week. But this is 45 minutes. It is the most expedited pregnancy, faster than fucking Twilight. It happens so fast.
Faster than Twilight. It took a whole movie to get that baby out.
I know. What the hell?
But this is where we get the I would say true like exclamation point performance of this fucking movie, as she is like trying to get out of the car and kind of put herself together. She becomes the herky-jerky woman. She is like
Satan
whipping
puts
her
all
head
of his herky-jerky work into this lady,
God.
dude. I mean,
like the scene ripped straight from Possession.
all right.
It's so far.
No, it really is. It's like it is such a good and like it is such a fantastic and clear tribute to I think her name it's Isabelle Adjani, right? Is her name, the actress name from Possession? Like if anybody sees this movie and like tries to tell me that it's not a direct tribute to Possession,
foolish.
You're
blind.
You're fucking crazy. But also, if somebody is like, well, the one in Possession is like a rip off from this one, I'd be like, yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah.
but all I know is Possession.
I mean, like,
it's straight up to the white glop coming out from everywhere.
Yes,
It's like so clearly, and not in a bad way. She honestly
owns
Nell
it.
Tiger Free owns it, dude.
She
She makes it her own. It stands with Possession.
It's like that Tool and Johnny Cash situation where Johnny Cash covered Hurt, and Tool was just like, well, that's a Johnny Cash song now.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, well, have fun with that, John.
Yeah, and in a less agreeable way, it's kind of like how Alien Ant Farm covered that one Michael Jackson song, and it's like, it should be theirs now.
Smooth Criminal?
Yeah. Is it Smooth Criminal?
Yeah,
it is Smooth Criminal. Yeah. They should have it.
But yeah, she owns it. She really puts her whole fucking
it's probably
body into this thing. It's
probably the best scene in the movie.
So
for me,
good.
at least, I think it's the one that really put the icing and the cherry on top of the cake, right? Like, I thought it was like
it really marries together the intricacies of a flailing possessed woman and a herky jerky possessed woman in beautiful fashion.
Yeah, it's like it's tortured, it's like horrific, it's mildly erotic. It's like it hits all these like good possession notes that you're like, oh, it's like it's such this flow of emotion from her, and it's just done so well. It honestly is the highlight of the movie. I think it fucking rocks, dude.
Crescendos on her, like,
so good.
Water breaking and shooting out all over the street as, like, some priests roll up in a car and they're like, oh, we gotta get this one. And she's, like, screaming and kicking, and they just, duck her into the car and take her off.
Yeah, it's essentially this whole possession sequence that it allows Cardinal Naihi and his mooks to show up. And they snatch Maggie and her fucking, like, demonically fast-forwarded pregnancy. Now they're under the orphanage, right? Cut right to under there. And the Cardinal and Sister Silva, and we're also surrounded by, like, dozens of other, like, acolytes, including Lucy, who looks very excited for the affair. So yeah, she's in on it.
She didn't know she was in on it till now,
yeah,
but
she
boy,
was not the friend. Bad friend.
Bad friend.
Bad friend. Yeah, and everyone's there to watch as Maggie is sliced open and a, like, baby, like...
Placenta. It's called a placenta, man.
Well, it's... it's, like, way worse. If you, like... Honestly, I think this looks more disgusting than, like, a real placenta. Because it looks so... Because it's fake, and it just looks so unnatural. It looks more like an egg that they have pulled out of her.
Yeah, the amniotic sac hasn't been, like, burst at all, so, like, it's still, like, this bulbous
it looks
structure stretched over a baby.
It looks not so good. But it's,
not so good in a good way.
Not so good in a good way. Yeah,
it's not like a bad practical effect. It's a stellar effect.
Yeah, it means that we are our character, our hero here is in dire straits. But eventually the sack is split open, and it is revealed that there are two babies. We have two babies, and everyone is like, but tell us is there good news? And he goes, and one's a boy, and that's the one they were looking for. Because, isn't it weird that, like, the Antichrist had to be a guy? Wouldn't it, like, I mean, just based on, like, how the church kind of has behaved for all these years, wouldn't it, like, make sense that the Antichrist would have been a lady?
I think...
Even in the downfall of Christianity, they can't give women one?
You're forgetting the hypocrisy of the church and their philosophies and
just
their mythologies.
Just give them one!
They had one. They had Mary.
They just hate women so much, you'd think that they would hate... The Antichrist would be one.
No.
It's crazy to me.
Too important of a role for them to give it to a woman.
Honestly, I think it's poor writing. I think they should... I think the church should go back in. We've done it before. Go back in, change some shit around. Antichrist is going to be a lady. Just give them one!
Roll out Revelations 1.2.
Yeah. This is the new book. It's called Expectations.
This is what you can come to expect. The women are going to be bad.
And it's not going to change this time. So we have the two infants. They're now removed. Maggie is stitched up on scene, and in one of the most insane gambits in a horror movie I've seen in quite some time, Maggie asks to hold the boy. Can I hold my child? I'm his mother. You know, she tries to play up the like, oh, I'm in on it now, right?
Yeah. Now that I did it, I'm in on it.
And fucking this cardinal, I understand that like he knew this chick when she was like, there might be some attachment, but like you have got to be absolutely shitting my ass if you expect me to believe anybody in this place would let this lady hold a baby.
No.
All of the churches, God's plan, it hinges on this moment, and you have a very fragile being that all of your plans are resting on, and you're gonna let this lady that you've tormented this whole movie hold it?
But it does give us the opportunity for a cool, like, little revelation that the sister in charge of everything kind of, like, bends her to this request. She's like, yeah, I will let you hold the baby. You know, like, I understand that it's important for a mother to bond with her child, and kind of strokes her head in, like, a knowingly way, and essentially, like, admits that she is, you know, Margaret's mom. Mm-hmm. She was the one who like laid with the devil to conceive of Margaret. So she's now stoked. She's like, fuck yes.
Yeah, it is like revelation after revelation, and we're like, we're zooming too. All of this stuff happens so fast, dude. It's like, like once, like I said, once the guy gets cut in half, I think.
Oh, Paolo,
like, yeah, we're really like. It's like a log flume after that dude, straight down. Yeah, so it was bold. It was a bold gambit. Let me hold the boy. They let him. I don't know why, but they do. And it is here that Maggie is able to like grab a scalpel and hold fucking Damien, the son of Satan, hostage, you know? And everyone's like, oh, fuck, I can't believe she did that. I was like, you guys are all fucking idiots. So she's holding the Antichrist hostage. Violence and chaos ensue as she's able to cut the throat of the cardinal. She's able to, like, gut the shit out of, which I think it's safe to say probably ex-best friend now.
Well, the ex-best friend gets her.
And then she gets the friend,
yeah,
right? Yeah. Oh, yeah, but so Maggie gets like a couple extra holes in her just to, like, for good measure. Because it's not like she doesn't have the big one.
Yeah, as if she's not already fucking...
As if her guts aren't already hanging out. And this basement of this orphanage, this whole, like, ceremonial area is going up in flames, right? And at this point, they manage to get Damien out, right? That's because the Lucy stabs her, and before Lucy dies, they're able to get the baby Damien.
Yeah, they rip the baby from her.
They leave the daughter twin. They're like, meh.
Yeah.
She's not the Antichrist, even though they're definitely fucking wrong.
Useless.
This one is
This one's useless.
According to me, they left the right one. And so now, resigned to die with, I guess, the daughter that she prefers, or the kid she prefers, because she's like, at least this one, they don't even want this one either, so I guess this one's cool.
This one's for me, I guess.
Yeah. Resigned to die in the fire, Maggie lays down, but at the last second, Carlita's Kiana, she returns to save Maggie and the baby. She's found her way. She grabs her, because apparently all she needed was like someone to just go, no, hey, the door. You know,
the door's over here, by the way.
Oh, shit, okay.
Look, she's been through a lot.
I know, it's, you know, I can't
She's lost a lot of blood.
Yeah. And they flee the orphanage into the night, and that is almost the end of the movie, but we get a little, we fade to black, open back up, and we get a little, like, Avengers, fucking
almost
like Nick Cage
credit. Nick Cage.
It's a post credit. It's essentially a post credit Nick Cage.
Nick Fury.
Nick Fury moment where Father Brennan has tracked down Maggie and Carlita and the daughter, whose name we don't ever get, but they're like up on top of this snowy mountain, and he shows up, and fucking Maggie like comes out, and she's got her shotgun ready, and we see that like they've got this sort of like a little life going on where it's just Carlita and Maggie and the baby
away from the world.
She's now like toddler age. She's Damien age from the movie, the original movie, right? So time has passed, you know, and Brennan is like, you know, they know you're alive now. They're gonna come for you, and she's like, I just want them to not, and he's like, but they're gonna, and she's essentially like, well, I'll be ready. You know, it's like setting up like, all right, well, we've got sister of Damien, we got Father Brennan. Who else can we bring in for the next one? This one, I will say, is definitely like a corporate mandated like sequel stinger.
Absolutely.
You know,
Yeah. You could have closed the movie out on like them like leaving and running away, and then cut to, because we do get the shot of them exchanging Damien for the other baby. To give
we
to
do get that
the
little,
family.
You know, little Easter egg for the original.
Good. Honestly, that's all I need. You already showed me a shot where they were talking about like, oh, this guy's wife just had a baby and she died. We need to swap it out like right now. This is our opportunity. Cool. That's all the connection I need. Instead, we get this like a borderline stinger scene where in the end of it, Father Brennan walks to the end of the property, turns over his shoulder and goes, "You know, they named him Damien." And I was like, fuck you. Ah! We were so close. We were like 99.9% out of this movie with like a perfect, beautiful, great movie.
100%
You
fresh.
did everything you need, 100% fresh. And they were like, Do you remember it's The Omen? Hey, remember?
In case you forgot, this was a prequel.
Do you remember Damien? I was like, damn it.
It is. It didn't really bother me that much, but I can't deny that it was such an obvious like corporate fucking finger meddling where they're like, you have to put this one in here or they're gonna forget.
It's like going and eating like this beautiful like 8-course meal. Everything's delicious, delectable, fills you up to the very brim. You couldn't possibly eat another bite.
And then someone shoves wasabi up your nose.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
They're like, why did you do that?
They're like, you got to eat this too. You have to. We said you have to.
Yeah, that is like the one bit that is like meh, but otherwise, it's a minor gripe in an otherwise like fantastic movie with just so much good stuff going on.
Yeah, honestly, I didn't think that Immaculate was gonna
get topped
to get topped, but holy shit.
I don't know which one I liked more. They're pretty close for me.
I think they're both despite being very same.
Very different.
Very different. Different, but same.
Different, but same. And you know what? Now you have perfect. If you want to watch a spooky churchy movie, you've got two different flavors that'll absolutely satiate you. It's just you'll be good to go either direction. It's a great time to want to be watching one of these movies. Is all I'm saying. Yeah. But yeah, I mean that's
needless to say, we loved it.
We loved it. Yeah,
5 out of 5.
Yeah, I mean hopefully with this we've kind of changed up the format a little bit on how we like talk about movies, where I think like I think we get a lot of it more across over the course of the episode. So I hope up until now it's been pretty clear we really, really liked this movie. It's awesome. I highly recommend it. I hope that you stopped the podcast and went and watched it and then came and listened to us. But yeah, it was awesome. Huge recommend. I will definitely be talking about it again down the road.
Yeah, end of the year, I'd be amazed if this one doesn't show up in our top 5.
Yeah, it's been a
pleasure.
It's been a pleasure with the. Although I will say, again, none doubt. I think this one and Immaculate, I'm good for now. I need to see something else happen in a scary movie. Well, I can't go back to CCD in my brain as a kid anymore.
Luckily for you and the listeners, we have next week is our week off.
Yes.
So we won't be posting. But then just for the 31st, the very end of the month, we are going to come at you with something unrelated to new movies. We know we've been trying to do like a lot of stuff that wasn't exactly, premiere releases, so that if you're not really up to going to the movies right now, you have something that we can talk about too. So we're going to come at you with something completely divorced from new movies. We're going to be looking at SCPs.
Yeah.
A very interesting and kind of
a new kind of episode for us.
Yes,
it's
very
different from what we've done before. So hopefully it'll be fun for everybody involved. But yeah.
Until then, we're doing streams.
Yeah, as always.
We got the stream on
Mondays and Fridays.
Monday, Friday, and we might be trying to do a midweek stream.
Yeah, bonus ones in between. Whenever we get if we're free, we try to do them. So, you can always catch us on there. As always, check the link in the description for our Discord. Hang out with us on Discord. We would love to chat with you there. Instagram. You know, we just finally started reposting all of our like album art and stuff from the podcast. On Twitter, we're there too. Chat with us there. Just chat with us, please. We just want to talk to people about scary movies. But yeah, other than that, I think that's it for us here at the Devil's Cut this week. Thank you for listening. You're the best Beelzebuds ever. And until next week, or, well, the week after, you better be able to creep it real for 2 weeks. Otherwise, I'll be watching.
They'll be fine. They'll make it. They're good creeps.
All right. Catch you guys later.